This is a little outside of my normal videos, but there is a huge problem with fake stuff from China being passed off as genuine products. And recently, I was in the market for a quality folding knife, and I've always been a fan of Cold Steel. And I noticed that there was a huge variety of prices, and um, and the way things looked were a little bit different. And I found out that the counterfeits for the particular knives that I was interested in are so just all over the place. And a lot of people are falling for the cheap counterfeit. So like this knife right here, I couldn't really find a detailed look of this knife. I've seen these right here, the AD-10 and the Voyager comparisons, but this one I just still couldn't find anything that actually compared in with being able to tell by looking at a picture whether something is fake or real. And so, and I see hundreds of people buying them on eBay and places like that, and just buying them and thinking that they actually have a real knife, instead of a 130, 140, up to 100, and a lot of money for this one. They're spending similar prices to that for a fake one, which they're selling out of China for $25 free shipping, and it's nowhere near the quality, and it's just a really cheap knife. All these here on the right are the fake ones. Here on the left is the real ones here. Now, the boxes, this is something you won't really be able to tell in a picture, and that's what I want to focus on, whether you can tell in a picture, not holding it in your hands, because of course if you can hold both of them in your hands, you can probably tell that which one is the actual real one and which one's not. I'm talking about actual pictures. So with pictures, typically the boxes will not be, with the fake ones, the boxes won't be as quality as the real ones, but it's hard to tell with pictures. But it'll say the wrong thing typically on the edge of the box. That's one thing I've noticed. But the boxes are not a big deal. They're just there to throw away in the end. So we're not going to focus too much on the boxes. There's the fake one, and here's a real one. Now, one thing about this is that this one has the new Cold Steel logo. The other ones have the... See, this one, okay, so this has a pocket clip that is black. The real one has a pocket clip that's black. And this is the extra left-handed pocket clip. The fake one came with a non-black one. It's just a shiny metal one. So that's a discrepancy there. So the real one has the black left-handed pocket clip. The fake one has the shiny metal one. All right, so now we can see, if we look at these side by side, this one has, this is the older style grip. This is the more newer style. But even the older ones didn't have this type of finish. This is what they call a DLC finish, diamond-like carbon coating, and this is just like a black paint or whatever. It's probably lead paint, so it's pretty durable paint, but still, it's not the same type of look and durability and all that stuff. So the DLC coating on the real one is a much better coating, more expensive, that stuff. Now, another thing you'll notice is that right here, this has screws on this side. This one doesn't. The fake one has no screws here. And you actually can't even put screws on this side, from what I can tell, when the screws for the pocket clip are in place on this side, because these screws are a little bit longer. These are intended to go halfway in, and then these go the other halfway. So this center part has to be pretty high quality in order for those screws to go halfway in and hold in pretty good on the real one. On the fake one, there is a slight gap on this side right here. And you can actually, I don't know if you can see there's a slight gap, and you can kind of squeeze it together because those screws are not there. So that is part of the structure. You notice there's screws here holding this together here and here. There's pins up there. But down here, those are supposed to be in there for the structure of the knife. But they only put them on the fake ones, they only put them on the pocket clip and then leave those empty. And, you know, so that's one thing from a picture. If you look at a picture and it does not have the screws on this side, that's definitely a suspect. That's a big time suspect. Okay, so this is your fake one. And then this is the real one. So let's look at this side. Now on these, the logos are going to be different, mainly because this is the new Cold Steel logo and that's the old style. And another thing is they don't make that carpenter steel anymore on these Recon ones. So if they're, you know, selling these nonstop at a cheap price and they have this on it, this is more of a collector's type at this point, type knife, because of that. That steel is a sought after steel. And the new ones, this one has the new logo, but this is the S35VN, made in Taiwan. Okay, so looking at them from just from pictures, you can tell from the DLC coating versus just like paint here. That's one thing. The missing screws is another thing. Another thing, one more very important detail when you look at pictures online, is to look at the thumb stud here. And you'll see that this one is rounded. The real one has a rounded off thumb stud, and the fake one is kind of more just kind of squared off, cut off. It's not rounded in the same way that the real one is. So that's something to keep in mind when you're looking at these. So from a distance, basically you can tell that the screws are not there. You can usually tell with the coating on the blade, and then the thumb stud being squared off, that's another thing. So let me go ahead and open this up. Now if you have one in your hand, you can tell that it's fake just by the lockup is not always tight. So this one is a loose one, but you can get a tight one on a fake one. So you don't want to just rely on that. Okay, so on the real one, the lockup has zero play. So that's another thing to consider. So those are some things right there to look for when looking for the Recon 1. Very important, very expensive knife. I mean, for a pocket knife, it's an expensive knife, and it is a really high quality, high-end knife that, you know, you don't want to get duped with a cheapo, because you're not going to have the same experience. Who knows what kind of steel this is? Who knows what kind of paint this is? This handle kind of feels similar to a G10, but who knows what it is. It feels kind of like a graphite-y type thing. I don't know what it's made out of. We don't know. They have zero. Whoever's selling these out of China for $25 has zero credibility. You know, they don't have a reputation to uphold or anything like that. So if this breaks and hurts you, they don't give a crap because they're not going to be sued or anything. It really does a disservice to Cold Steel because, you know, if somebody buys this thinking it's real and then it breaks or whatever, all the negative experiences they have with this knife, if they think it's real, they're going to attribute that to Cold Steel. And that's not fair, because Cold Steel does a good job of making quality products. And they actually, you know, are trying to have a good reputation. Now the AD-10, this is another expensive knife. I really like this knife. And, you know, once again, the boxes look slightly different, but it doesn't really, it's hard to really tell with boxes. This is cheaper made. This is more solid. This is more flimsy. But let's look at the actual knife. And the AD-10 does come with a second clip for the left-handed position. And the fake one did not have one, and the real one did. But we'll get past that, because it's not a huge difference. Okay, so from a distance, you'll see this in pictures. And I tell people, hey, you're selling a fake knife. And of course, they block me and stuff like that, because they don't want to be exposed. But here's the real one and the fake one. Right off the bat, when you look at it, we'll put the fake one on top and the real one on bottom. And then right from a distance, you can tell by this. The blade, you see the blade doesn't sink all the way into the handle. On the fake one, it sinks into the handle a little bit. You can see they go back a little bit too far back. This one is in the right position. That's one thing. Another thing on the AD-10 is the logo. You can see on the Cold Steel, the real one, which is down here, and the fake one's up here. You can tell by the blade, remember, here and here. You can see this one's too far back and goes into the handle a little bit. But here on the Cold Steel, fake Cold Steel, it's not as prominent, but also right on the S there's a little mark right below the S. On the real one, and this is they have changed the logo, okay? But on this logo, which is still commonly seen online, this is what it should look like right here. Very strong, and you can see the font. Look at the S35 VN right there. And then look at the fake one. This is the real one here. And look at the S35 VN in addition to the logo. And look at the fake one. And you'll notice the S is a little bit larger. So if you see close-ups of this, you'll be able to tell by the logo, but also the little bit of a discrepancy as far as what it looks like, as far as the wording as well. The fake one's on top, and the real one's on the bottom. So even, from a distance, you can tell from the blade, you can tell from the logo on close-ups, and, those are the dead giveaways on which one is the fake, which you can see it's up here. And the lockup, once you hold it in your hand, the lockup, it has a little bit of wobble to it. The handle feels cheap and plasticky, or I don't know what it is, but like I said, we don't know what the materials are because it's fake. So now it's time for the Voyager. This is another one that fools a lot of people. The boxes are not going to match typically, but the boxes are easily faked or whatever, so we'll just kind of forget about the box and go straight into the knife. This is what's in the fake one, and here's the real one. And this is the one that is very concerning because it's relatively hard to be able to tell the difference between these two. Even when you're holding them in your hand, if you don't know what to look for, then you could easily get fooled, basically. Now, right off the bat, from a distance, you can tell on the real one on the left side, the pins are not black. On the fake one, they're blacked out. Another thing is, and this is kind of subtle, but this helps out a lot because these are very similar in knives. You can tell there's no screws on this side because there is a screw there. So there's no screws on this side, unlike the Recon 1, in which you have to look out for that. This one doesn't have that on either the real one or the fake one. This one has the new logo, so you can't compare that. But, you know, this one has the Carpenter. It's labeled as the Carpenter steel one, which is unlikely at a cheap price. You can see there's a lot of similarities there. But the blade, the stonewash on the blade, is more like this one was stonewashed with stones, and this one's like tumbled with sand or something, you know? So it's a little bit of a subtle difference there in the stonewashing of the blade. Now, when you actually hold these, this one in particular, this fake one, has a decent lockup. You could get fooled if you don't have one to compare it with. It might fool you. It is a large, impressive knife. It has a pretty good lockup. It says Cold Steel on it. Has a decent enough box to go with it. You might get fooled, you know, if you don't know precisely what to look for. The stonewash, a little bit more texture on the grip. This one's slightly less, but not a big deal. Not a super noticeable. But the pins not being black, which is on the real one, they should not be black. This one is very similar, you know. So there's a couple things: the pins, the stonewash, and as far as pictures, that's about all you can go on right now. So you got to be careful. Now, of course, the logo showing the Carpenter steel, which is no longer made. If you're getting a really cheap price on one of these with that logo on it, probably not real because they don't make that anymore. The new ones is it's an AD-10. So you can keep that in mind. But anyways, hopefully this has been helpful. Like I said, this is not a normal video that I normally do on knives, you know. I'm not like a knife expert or anything. It's just something I happen to, you know, dip into and, you know, learn about. And I just saw a bunch of fakes and people just gobbling them up, thinking that they're real and wasting their money and, you know, spending a lot of money. I mean, you know, hundreds of dollars on some of these knives, and they're just totally obviously fake. But if you don't know what to look for, and you get this in the mail, a Cold Steel Recon 1, and you're like, wow, this is a nice knife. You know, feels pretty good and everything. You don't know a whole lot about Cold Steel, but you think, wow, this is a nice knife. And you just think this is a real Cold Steel, you know. You know, you don't really pay much attention to maybe you got one that locks up a little bit better than this one, and you think you got a nice knife, but you actually have a $25 cheap clone copy that is probably going to break as soon as you know, use it for anything substantial. The blade is you know, it feels very sharp, but, you know, who knows what this blade is made out of. The edge retention is going to be not as good as the original real one. So there's a lot of things that, you know, the fakes are, they're just not, they're when you're paying $25 shipped from China for a knife, you know, so like this is, you know, you could pay a lot of money for this, but I paid about $100 for mine, and you know, this is only a quarter of the price. It's nowhere near the same quality, you know, nothing. It's not even worth buying at $25, you know. The only reason why I bought these fakes, I bought them directly from China to show you the difference. And, you know, I wanted to see for myself what the difference was, and I didn't want to get fooled, and I didn't want anybody else to get fooled. So I went ahead and ordered these fakes. I'm going to Dremel these and make sure that these logos are destroyed, and make sure that, you know, nobody gets fooled into thinking these are real knives. But anyways, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.